Hello everyone, so welcome back, and this is what we're going to set up this time. So you'll see my knights over there. If they jump into combat with me, their health bar gets added to the screen. Did I pick up that sword? No. So we'll set up how to get their health bars on screen and get it registering their actual health so that when they run out there, I'm still tweaking the loot dropping. It drops, but it doesn't drop per se, but we'll work on that soon. But yeah, whenever they see you and they get into combat, whenever you're in combat with an enemy, they will be added to a little enemy list over on the left, and you'll be able to monitor their health. Let's jump into it. So the way to do this, let me get to my player character. Oh, if you ever have that pop up, you can either refresh those the HUD widget that it's talking about, or if you just cancel out and then play again. I don't know why it does that. I will look into that, but yeah, the HUD just needs to refresh, so you just cancel out, play again. Seems to fix it for some reason, but we will take a look at that. But right now, let's jump into our player blueprint. So we need to add a variable. Our variable will be an enemy list. It's going to be of the type base enemy, and it will be an object reference because it will be ones that exist in the world. Now over here on the right, variable type, we want to set that to an array. So now we can go into our base enemy class, and in the event graph, when it sees the player, we want to move this way a little bit where we're casting to the player. We're going to go ahead and promote that to a variable, player ref. And then right at the end, well, I guess we can just move this a little bit further. We will get that enemy list, and we want to add a unique instance to it, and the unique instance will be a reference to the self. So let me position this over, drag this, we'll call a reference to the self, and that'll add it to it. Now that we are going to need a little bit more room, so I'm going to just move this way because we are going to create a little widget, HUD elements. So I'm going to right click, go to user interface, and create another widget blueprint. This one will be enemy list _UI. You might wonder why some of these have W, some of them have UI. I've kind of shifted, so the W is the one that goes on the screen, and then the UI is the one I use as like a like something that'll be added to what's already on the screen. Just a little way I like to do it, just to keep it fresh in my head, I guess. So up in the right, instead of fill screen, we want custom. Now I'm going to do 300 by 100. And that'll give us this nice little rectangle. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add an image to it and stretch it like this. Reset all the offsets back to 0 and set its color and opacity. I want it black with its alpha to be 0.5, so it's kind of see-through. Now on the left side of this, you can add another image if you want. I'm going to do that. Oh, click OK. This is going to be the enemy's like profile picture, I guess, and I'm just going to set it to 40 by 40 on the size, set its alignment on the Y to 0.5, and its position back to 0 so that it's right in the middle. And then each enemy can have their own little face icon if you have them, or you put a text here and we'll set the name up. Either way works. So I'm going to add a progress bar real quick to the right anchor. Position X and Y back to 0. Alignment on the X is 1 and the Y is 0.5. Now for the position X, I'm going to set it to -25 because the negative will help it move left, and I don't want it right on the edge. For the size X, I'm going to say 150, and the size Y, 20 looks good. Now I'm going to set its fill color. Oh wait, no. We need to set the percent up a little bit so we can monitor that. Then I'm going to set its fill color to red. Give it a nice dark red. Now I don't like this rectangular box personally, so in the style for the draw as, instead of image, I'm going rounded box. Same thing on the fill, so instead of draw as image, draw as a rounded box, and disable that fill animation so that it looks like that. That's great. So this image one I'm going to call enemy pick. This progress bar is going to be health. Now we'll compile that and then move over into the graph. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to, okay, we can highlight this one. We don't need that to be a variable. So we'll compile that. Now in the event construct, we're going to adjust these, but we need to add a reference first. So we're going to add a variable. This will be the enemy ref, and it will be of the type base enemy object reference, and then we want instance editable and expose on spawn. So for the enemy pick, let's grab that out. Oh, one thing we do need to do real quick is inside our base enemy class, we need to actually add that variable. So from the variables, we'll add an enemy pick, change the type to a texture 2D. This one right here, object reference, click the eye. So now we should be able to pull it up in the enemy list. We'll grab out our enemy reference. We want to get enemy pick. Not to get these confused, this is the one that's inside the widget, and this one's inside the character. So we want to set brush. So setting a brush is how you set the picture, and then from here we will make a slate brush, and then we'll just hook this image up right into there, just like that. Now for the health bar, let's highlight it, and we'll scroll down to that percentage in the progress, and we want to bind that to a variable. So let's create a binding, grab out our enemy reference, get the health, oops, and the max health. Ooh, it has a max health, right? Let's see. Health. If it doesn't have a max health, just go in here. We'll add a max health real quick. And make that a float. Then where's your health? I'll just move you up right beside it. And then make sure that your health and your max health are the same thing. So for this one it's just 0, but in the night enemy I'll adjust it there. So let's compile real quick, and then the enemy ref, now we can get our max health. Now we'll divide the health by the max health, and that will return that. Compile that, save everything. Let's find that night enemy. I'm going to edit him. Oh, so right click and open him up. So his health is 50. I'm going to set his max health to also 50. Attack damage, attack range, enemy pick. Alright, so I'm going to just use, you can use whatever you like. I have just this enhanced thing. I'm just going to use this skull. So his picture will be that skull. So now what we need to do is actually set up a place for that enemy list to go to. So I'm going to do this in the player HUD widget, the one that has all our health bars and everything. I'm just going to add a canvas panel over to the left side, anchored to the left side, reset its offsets, the Y alignment 0.5, for the size X 300, size Y 450, and then I'm going to move it about 25 units, no, 50 units to the right, just to get it off the wall right there. Excuse me 1 second. Oh. Work calling. Anyway. Alright, so what we want to add now is a scroll box. Because just in case you have a lot of enemies, you want it to not, go off the screen. You want to be able to scroll. So we'll reset all the offsets after we anchor it to the full screen. And then what we want is a vertical box. Now this will be our actual enemy list. So it is a variable. And I'm going to call it enemy list. So compile that real quick. Now in our base enemy class, once we've added the unique enemy list, or enemy to the list, we want to create widget. Widget. The widget we want to create is that enemy list UI that we just did. Now we have this enemy reference, we can plug in that self right there. And we want to grab out our player reference, get our HUD reference. So this is a reference to our player HUD widget. We're going to get that enemy list. And then we're going to add child. And we'll plug that in, return value right here to right there. And then plug that in right there. So realign everything. Now let's jump on in, run up to him, and when he sees it, there he is. He's popping up. Do I have... Okay. So what we want to do is in the base enemy class, right here on the C pawn, let's just back this up. Right here, right on this side of the caster player, so that once it, otherwise it might see something. We're gonna add a do once. We want it on this side so that it only happens if it actually sees the player, and this is casting true. Otherwise, if we do it once, then if it sees something and it's not the right thing, then it won't be able to call everything else. So let's compile that real quick. Now when I run up to him, don't you run away from me. Don't you run away from me. There we go. And now he's on our screen. Now I don't have a sword over here, but let me add a sword real quick and see if we're actually damaging him. Interaction. Weapons. Where's my character? Wrong sword, but it'll work. Now, he's not taking any damage just yet, but we can fix that pretty easily by going into the base enemy class. And we want to find some empty space and do an event any damage. So for right now, all we're going to do is if they take any damage, we're going to subtract their health. We're going to get their health and then subtract this amount from it. And then set their health to the new amount. We will go ahead, you know what, if it's less than or equal to 0, do a branch, and then we'll just destroy actor, so it's got a little confirmation that we're officially applying damage. And I'm just going to go ahead and add a few more of these guys, so we can see that list populate. Now you notice that it's still on the screen, but we will fix that too. So yeah, they're adding each time an enemy sees us. I don't know what that was, but they're getting added to that list. They are getting killed and destroyed. But one more thing we can, yes, I know it's not there anymore. What we can do right before we destroy the actor, let's drag this way a little bit. Grab out our player reference, get another HUD reference, get our enemy list reference, and then we want to remove child. So we'll plug this in just like this. And then down over here where we're creating that widget, let's move this way just a little bit more. Promote it to a variable called enemy UI. So we'll hook that like that and like that. And now back up over here one more time. The content that we want to remove from our enemy list will be our enemy UI. So now, when he gets killed, he's being removed. Oh no, he killed me. Alright, it's all good. I haven't set up my death animation. I am immortal. But yeah, so now he's getting his bar removed. You will notice though also that the enemies can hurt each other. Let me see how long this video has been. Only 16 minutes. Alright, let's fix that real quick. So the way we can fix that is let's go into the project settings. Into all settings, we want to set up a collision channel. No. Channel? Engine collision. Just type in channel or collision. We want to set up a new trace channel. So new trace channel. This one will be called player. Default response is to ignore it. New trace channel. Enemy. Default response is to ignore it. So, accept that. And then we'll save everything. Now in the player blueprint, for the mesh, we want to go down to her collision. And you might have to do custom up here, but on the player, we want that to be a block. And in her attack trace channel, we want to change its trace channel to enemy. Compile that. Now in the base enemy, we're going to do the same thing, but in reverse. So we're going to go to their collision, and we're going to set it to block on the enemy channel, but their attack trace will be on the player channel. Now let's save everything one more time. And that should let it to where when we have a bunch of enemies trying to attack us at once, they won't be, accidentally hurt each other. They can just wail on the character to their heart's content. And when we attack back, we're damaging the one we hit. Now I will show you all another trick in another video to adjust their trace channel. Why'd y'all freeze? Oh well. Probably because they couldn't get close enough to the character. What we can do is we can go in here. Let's just go ahead and do it now because it's pretty easy. In the base enemy class, go to the character movement. On the details panel, do RVO. This is use RVO avoidance. So this will let the enemy characters kind of register where each other is at a little easier and a little bit more accurately, so they don't stack on top of each other. They'll kind of position themselves around to be able to attack. Their RVO avoidance is based on their capsule collision, so that's why it's a little bit funky. But if you widen that capsule just a little bit more, probably in each enemy class, you would probably adjust this based on the enemy's mesh. But for now, that's looking good. In the next one, we'll go over how to give our enemy class a couple extra attacks so that they can, they don't do the same static attack every time. We'll set it up to where they'll be able to pick. Where is our attack? Okay, so right here where they're playing the montage, they'll be able to pick a random one and play it based on however many attacks the enemy class actually has. And then after that we'll go over the rest of the setup so that we can, maybe give our characters some gold when they kill an enemy. We'll set up the checklist so that if that particular enemy is a quest objective, then we'll register that so that we can get all of our enemies to be quest objectives when we want them to be, and etc., etc., etc. So I will see y'all in the next one. Bye bye.